Hello, friends. Welcome back to Transcendent Astrology and Tarot. My name is Michelle Fondon. I'm an author, speaker, tarot reader, and astrologer. And today we're going to talk about the total solar eclipse in Aries happening on April 8th, 2024 at 11:20 a.m. Pacific time. This is a really strong total solar eclipse. The last time there was a solar eclipse going across the continental United States was back in August 21st of 2017. So it's been quite some time since there has been a total solar eclipse going across the entire United States. So if you are interested, please do stay tuned, and we're gonna dig really deep into this very unique total solar eclipse. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you for subscribing below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. I do tarot and astrology readings. You can book that at my website, michellefondonauthor.com. So let's talk first about the lineup of this very unique total solar eclipse. And the reason I say it is unique is because it happens at the beginning of the astrological year. Of course, Aries season, the spring equinox that happened on March 19th of 2024 is the beginning of the astrological year. Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. It represents the self. And oh my gosh, we have so many planets in Aries currently at the time of this total solar eclipse. So this is totally nuts. It's highly unusual. We have a very unique conjunction happening at 19 degrees, 24 minutes Aries, which includes Chiron, the sun, and the moon, all conjunct at 19 degrees, 24 minutes of Aries. That happens at 11:21 a.m. Pacific time on April 8th. This is not only unique, but it is powerful and impactful. Let's look at the lineup for Aries though. This is totally crazy. We've got Venus, the planet Venus, direct at 4 degrees Aries. We've got the north node of the moon at 15 degrees Aries. Of course, we have the moon, sun, and Chiron at 19 degrees, and we have Mercury retrograde. Yes! Mercury went retrograde on April 1st of 2024, and that's happening at 24 degrees Aries retrograde. So we have 6 celestial bodies in Aries at the time of this total solar eclipse. This is highly unique, you guys. It is a little bit crazy. It's intense energies. Think of all of these planets sharing the same apartment. That's the way I like to describe it. When we're thinking about how to bridge the knowledge of what happens when there's a cluster of planets or celestial bodies inside of a sign or inside of a house, that's what it is. It's like they're sharing the exact same apartment. Now, if they are conjunct, I say that they're sharing the same bed. They're getting into bed with one another. And that is what is happening with Chiron, the moon, and the sun. This is nuts. So let's go into the eclipse energy in astrology and what it means. And as I mentioned, the last the great US continental eclipse, total solar eclipse, happened in 2017. It's 3 times more powerful. If you think about an eclipse, 3 times more powerful than a new moon or a full moon. And the effects of the eclipse tends to last about 6 months until the next eclipse season. Eclipses always happen in pairs, usually, but not this year. Usually it's a solar eclipse and then a lunar eclipse. This time it was the lunar eclipse. And now we're having the solar eclipse on April 8th. Rapid developments and crisis moments tend to happen around the eclipse season. Now, traditionally, it was like kings were either dethroned or they died or they were poisoned or there was a change of government that happened during the eclipses in ancient times. Solar eclipses tend to create new opportunities and new beginnings. Now, of course, this happens because a solar eclipse always happens on a new moon. Now, of course, the new moon is when you cannot see the moon to the naked eye. For us, it's like the dark moon because we don't see it. And so the new moon is when there is no moon, but a solar eclipse happens during the new moon phase. They're exciting and positive. They bring something out of the blue, something totally unexpected. Vast changes will be brought to you. However, we're going to talk about why this very unique solar eclipse on April 8th is going to bring about vast changes. But those changes might not be felt right away. It might take a couple of weeks for those changes to start to be felt. And that is because of those 6 celestial bodies in Aries sharing the same apartment, but it's also another aspect that we're actually going to talk about. So let's talk about Aries and astrology. As I mentioned, it's the beginning of the zodiac, the beginning of the astrological year. Aries represents the self. It is a fire sign. It's yang in nature. It is ruled by Mars, the planet Mars. It's the warrior. Aries has unbridled energy to get things started. Now, Aries does not discriminate. It's not directional. Aries has intention to start new things, but Aries might not have the intention to finish those things or to carry those things forward. It's kind of impulsive, but there is this fertility in Aries energy, and there's this compelling drive forward, just like Mars, this compelling drive, this yang energy, this forward moving momentum. There's strong ego energy in Aries. The phraseology for the strong ego in Aries is, I want to become what I am. And so it's this intense impulse to becoming. Aries is the individual. Its opposition sign is Libra, which is a sign of the other. Aries is very individualistic. Aries doesn't need to ask permission to the other to start something, to get things done, or really just to hop from one thing to another. Aries can be a loner in that sense because they're so individualistic. Aries is also action without regard to the outcome. Just pure action, that's what Aries is. Aries is often impatient, lacking in persistence and stamina. So let's talk about Mars is the ruler of Aries, and that will give you a grander picture. Now, there's a great symbiosis between Aries and Mars, meaning they are very similar in the way they are archetypally. They're very similar in the way they operate and move, even more similar than Mars as the ruler of Scorpio. So let's look at Mars as the ruler of Aries. It's closely related in its raw energy. It's fiery, willful, and works best alone. However, Mars now, during this total solar eclipse, it's in Pisces. It doesn't like to be in Pisces, but it's in Pisces. And the reason Mars doesn't like to be in Pisces is because it has to rest in Pisces. Mars has to recuperate its energy in Pisces. Pisces is a water sign, and Pisces is a spiritual sign. And Mars just likes action and war. And in Pisces, Mars has to take a step back. Mars really just has to take a step back. It has to relax. It has to rest and recuperate. Now, another odd thing that's going on, which we'll talk about in a minute, is that Mars is conjunct the planet Saturn. Saturn is like the stern father. It is the rules, the regulations, it's father time. Now, Mars is like the little kid, the ego-driven little kid that has unbridled energy, that just wants to run around to the grocery store and pull things off the shelves and say, I want this cereal. And the stern father, Saturn, is like, no, you cannot have that cereal. You need to go put it back. And so think about Mars is already feeling disgruntled and dissatisfied sitting in Pisces because it has to rest and recuperate. But now it has father time. It has the father, the stern rule creator and rule enforcer right next to it. Mars is certainly feeling weakened and not too happy about this situation. Any planet that happens to be in Aries, regardless of its traits, operates more decisively, quickly, and in a more ego-centered manner than usual. This can be a problem for the Moon, Venus, and Neptune, as those planets are typically about the bigger picture, about the other, about feelings, emotions, feeling empathy and compassion. Now, we all know that the Moon and Venus currently are both in Aries. This causes both of them to do things or say things that they might not normally do or say. Let's talk about the uniqueness, the real uniqueness of this situation. As I mentioned, at 11:21 a.m. Pacific time, the Sun, Moon, and Chiron are all at 19 degrees, 24 minutes of Aries. The eclipse magnifies this, and Chiron takes the stage. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. It was discovered in 1977. It was first categorized as a minor planet and an asteroid, and then later it was changed to a comet and a minor planet, but it is called the Centaur. And as you know, the Centaur is part human and part animal. The backstory of Chiron is certainly interesting, and I'm not going to go into it in Greek mythology. I'm not going to go into it here in this video because that would make the video extremely long. But just know that Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Generally speaking, wherever Chiron is situated in our chart is where we have those repetitive deep core wounds. We tend to repeat actions, or we have repetitive emotions that break open the scab of that wound, and we're feeling it. It hurts, it's bleeding, it's oozing, it's gooey, it's yucky. And it happens over and over and over again in our lives until we can actually heal those wounds. The core wounds of Chiron tend to block self-empathy, compassion, and forgiveness. I believe that Chiron, exact this new moon, solar eclipse in Aries, will show us where to start healing. So this is an opportunity to start that healing of Chiron. Wherever Chiron happens to be in your birth chart, first and foremost, but secondarily, where Chiron is today in transit for you, when we think about the house where Aries is in your chart. Look at your natal chart. If you are having trouble with locating the transits in your natal chart or where Chiron is in your natal chart, just know that I do natal chart readings and I can always help you out with that. Looking to the house of where Chiron is situated in Aries in your chart, and we'll give a few examples soon, that will give you a clue as to where your healing must start. Since Aries is about the self and self-identity, or the individual, Chiron and Aries wounds say, I don't belong here. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to be seen. And why am I not seen? That's really the core wounds of Chiron and Aries. And I happen to have Chiron and Aries natally, so this is coming right back around. And for me, Chiron and Aries natally is in my 10th house of career and public image, so go figure. For me, it's been an uphill climb of being seen in my career. So that certainly is interesting how this is manifesting here. And Chiron takes anywhere between 4 and 7 years to go through a sign. And so many people that were born in the same time period may have Chiron in a specific sign just because of the year they were born. In Aries, the wounded Chiron feels no right to exist and feels fundamentally wrong and overly self-sufficient, not relying on others for help. So that's the major wound of Chiron in Aries is I don't need anyone. I can do this alone. I don't need anyone to help me. just very overly self-sufficient. And the healing of that wound is the opposite sign, which is Libra, which is partnership. It's relying on somebody else to get you through life and to help you. The healed Chiron in Aries feels lovable, worthy, and knows that they have a right to exist. They're unapologetic because that is Aries. It's like, here I am. That's Aries. Here I am. It's me. So let's look at the effects of Mars in Pisces and Mercury retrograde in Aries and the North Node in Aries during the solar eclipse. Oh my gosh, this is gonna pack a punch. As mentioned, Mars is the ruler of Aries. It's currently at 13 degrees Pisces and is conjunct Saturn at 14 degrees Pisces. Mars in Pisces, of course, feels weaker. Mars needs to rest, relax. As I mentioned, it loses its fiery warrior power in Pisces. It's also suppressed by father like Saturn, overlooking Mars like the stern father that Saturn is. Saturn enforces boundaries, rules, regulations, and says no. Think of Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces like a father taking his son out on a sailboat to teach him the lessons of sailing. Mars's unbridled energy just wants to try it. Without getting the rules and regulations of how to do things, it's just gonna go and do it. And Saturn, the father, is like, no, 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 no. There's a right way to do this and there is a wrong way to do this. And I'm gonna teach you the right way, the wrong way. There are rules to sailing, and this is how we are going to do this. Not only that, but since Mars, being the ruler of Aries, is the fire starter, if you will, it doesn't want to repeat things. It doesn't want to look at the outcome of repeating things so many times that you reach perfection. And so it's going to be thoroughly annoyed when Saturn, the father, is like, all right, you learned how to tie the rope of this mast of the sail. Go back and do it again. And if it's not perfect, go back and do it again. So you can understand the mounting frustration of Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces during this total solar eclipse. So Chiron, that's going to need some help to figuring out how to take action to heal the wounds that it's discovering in Aries. Chiron will receive no help from Mars during this time period because Mars is weakened. Mars is like a lame duck. So Chiron won't be able to figure it out. Mercury retrograde in Aries magnifies Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication and technology and bright ideas and reasoning and logic. Oh, the fact that it's in Aries could actually help Chiron figure out the problems, the core wounds, and be able to communicate them and say, hey, that's it. Those are my wounds. Here I go. I'm figuring it out. I'm going to become emotionally healthy. Yet, Mercury being magnified as it's in retrograde is not about external communication. It's not about communicating ideas and reasoning and logic and talking things out with other people to be able to reason through the problems. It's literally like going inside of your head and being stuck there and being stuck with your own thoughts, being stuck with your own mind. Now, sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes it's totally necessary when we are discovering our core wounds and we're discovering our need to heal. And then we just have to go internally. We have to go inside and kind of mull it over and figure it out and just really do a lot of self-reflection. Well, that certainly is what Mercury retrograde in Aries is doing for Chiron conjunct the moon and the sun, but it's not necessarily going to be able to resolve the problems right away. Another thing that this is from Robert Hand's book, Horoscope Symbols. And Robert Hand says, with Mercury retrograde, as with any planet that is retrograde, sometimes it's difficult to be objective with its information of its lessons. A retrograde planet is closer to the Earth. When anything is too close to a situation, it's sometimes difficult to gain a bigger perspective. Therefore, if the solar eclipse causes you to pinpoint what you might want to change in your core healing, Chiron and Aries, Mercury retrograde may cause you to focus on the wrong things. It might cause you to focus on the details rather than the bigger picture. It might make you nitpick on yourself and your core woundings rather than getting to the root cause of those and getting to the bigger picture idea of those so that you can change them. So it might be wise to wait until Mercury stations direct to be able to really pinpoint those changes that were revealed during this total solar eclipse. We have Venus at 4 degrees Aries. Venus is the planet of love and connection. And of course, it is the ruler of Libra and Taurus. Venus has a difficult time in Aries. Do you know why? Because it's Mars's sign. And Mars is yang, Venus is yin. Venus is a lover, not a fighter. Venus doesn't like to be aggressive. Venus can often act irrationally in Aries. Not to mention, it is conjunct Neptune that is in Pisces. Now, there are different signs, Venus and Aries, Neptune and Pisces, but they are conjunct. And so there is a problem here because Neptune causes disillusion. Venus might get a little disillusioned and say something or do something that Venus doesn't really mean. So that could be also problematic and the reason why you might want to delay action with the core wound healing of Chiron. Finally, we have the North Node at 15 degrees Aries. Now the North Node is the future pull. It's the future pull of your soul. The North Node gives you impulse toward your future, impulse toward how do I correct things to get on my right life path. With the North Node in Aries in this total solar eclipse, you'll feel pulled to make major changes. There's no doubt you will feel pulled to make major changes and heal your core wounds. The Aries fire may even compel you to make these changes rapidly. Yet, it's not time yet. It's just not time. Mars being conjunct Saturn in Pisces is the reason why it's not time. And then Mercury retrograde is also the reason why it's not time, even though you may feel compelled with this North Node in Aries as well. So what's the rescue? What is the solution? What is the transcendence of this situation? Because I always like to talk about the solution, the rescue, the transcendence of this situation. The rescue remedy, and that's what I'm calling it, the rescue remedy. That's actually a homeopathic remedy from Bach Remedies. It's a German company, I believe. Rescue remedy is on April 25th of 2024. That is the rescue remedy. Now I'm gonna put a picture of a chart up here so you can see why I say that this is the rescue remedy. It's happening around 11:21 a.m. I say this is the rescue remedy. It is 17 days after the total solar eclipse. Chiron gets a nice little loving cushion or rescue on April 25th. Mercury stations direct. Yay! Chiron gets a nice sandwich. It gets a little cushion, a little sandwich. The wounded healer gets a sandwich cushion of North Node and Mercury on one side and Venus on the other side. This is a beautiful little cushion that Chiron gets. I love this. I find it's going to create action steps to heal the core wounds. Okay, they're all conjunct. That is the most beautiful part of this cushion, is that they are all conjunct. This Chiron is sitting in the middle of two best friends or family members in therapy. Just think about that. They're in the therapist's office, being supported by everyone in the room. Chiron is sitting there being supported by everyone in the room on April 25th. So in 17 days, Chiron can finally air out its problems. You will be able to air out your problems, the core wounding of Chiron. You'll begin to see the solutions. You'll be able to talk about the solutions with Mercury direct. And you will have the loving support of Venus, the loving support of the North Node to help pull it out of you. And that is the most beautiful solution to this problem, that if you are starting to have these problems unearthed around April 8th and moving forward, but you're stuck because there's no way out of this problem and you can't figure out a solution, you can't talk about a solution, you can't even talk about the problems. Just wait 17 days and all will start to unfold. All will start to unravel. So this is quite different than any other total solar eclipse in that that is about new beginnings, fresh starts, sudden changes, sudden beginnings. And what I call this is, it is really a false start. The solution to how to resolve your Chiron problems of Chiron and Aries is really to look at your personal birth chart, go to the house that Aries rules in your chart, and look to that, and that is going to help you. For example, if Aries is in your 11th house of friendships, groups, and networking, your healing will look very different than if Aries is in your 4th house of home and family. Now remember, since Aries represents the self, even if your Aries is in another house than the 1st house, which represents the self, just know that the healing is going to be interrelated to those themes, to Aries themes. And so when you think through the aspects of your healing, those two themes are going to be very prominent, whichever house number and theme with Aries in your chart, and then the individual Chiron and Aries. Now, the last thing that you're going to look at is where Chiron is in your chart. And that is going to give you another clue to really what your personal core woundings are. So let's take a look at the tarot and get some indications on how to heal during this time of the total solar eclipse with those 3 beautiful bodies conjunct Chiron, Moon, and the Sun, with 3 more celestial bodies, Mercury, North Node, and Venus, all in Aries. What are we looking at, angels and guides? Please help us to understand what is happening here. Nine of Cups. Yes, this makes so much sense. The Nine of Cups in reverse. The Nine of Cups in reverse is a hollow feeling. A hollow feeling. That's what it is, right? The wound of Chiron in Aries is a hollow feeling. I don't belong here. I don't know where my destiny is. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to be an individual that is moving through life, because the Nine of Cups upright is literally about emotional fulfillment. It's about, look at all these family and friends coming together and feeling like they belong. But here it's saying self-indulgence, selfish, imbalance, addictions, emptiness, overindulgence, and excess. So having a hollow feeling with the wounding of Chiron and Aries might lead you to self-excess, because you're not nurturing yourself. You're not loving yourself. You're not accepting yourself. You're not feeling you're worthy. And so what do people do who do not feel worthy on the inside? They abuse of themselves. They often drink too much alcohol, use too many drugs, overeat, overgamble. They let other people walk all over them. So let's continue talking about the solar eclipse in Aries happening on April 8th. What else do we need to know, please? We've got two. We've got tens. Tens are about endings leading to new beginnings. Endings leading to new beginnings. 10 of Swords in reverse. I like the reverse, changing the outcome. You have the power to change the outcome. Regeneration of a relationship, making a comeback, reconciliation over it, repairing and moving on. So I feel that you, as an individual, learning how to love yourself, learning how to have your own self-worth, learning how to not abuse yourself, is then learning how to say goodbye to a relationship that is not meaningful for you, or reconciling a relationship that is actually good for you, or ending a situation that is not good for you, or starting a situation. So then we have the 10 of Wands, which is about the heavy burdens. Heavy burdens, heavy load, on the brink of collapse, responsibilities over the limit, overwhelmed. Oh boy. Now this to me really does look like Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces not being able to help you. Pisces does tend to feel the heavy load, the burdens of the world on their shoulders, because Pisces being ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, but its real, its ancient ruler is Jupiter, tends to feel a sense of responsibility from a bigger standpoint. And I have a feeling that the heavy load is Saturn compressing Mars in Pisces, almost drowning it, making it feel like it's underwater. And it does feel like there's no way out, but there is a way out, because we're going to talk about the solutions to these problems. So let's look at the solutions to the Nine of Cups in reverse, the hollow feeling, the lack of the I self, the I presence that helps you to put your shoulders back, raise your head high and say, I am here. I deserve to be here. I am worthy. I am moving forward with my own self-expression. And I feel a part of something. I feel a part of a group. I feel a part of something bigger, but I am an individual, but I still feel like I belong in the world. So let's see, what is the solution to this hollow feeling? Angels and guides. Ten of Coins, a family legacy. More tens, endings and beginnings. I have a feeling for some people, it is, I'd say for a lot of people, this total solar eclipse is going to mean endings and beginnings, endings and beginnings. Again, it might take a few weeks, but major endings, major beginnings with all of these tens. We've gotten 3 tens so far. Family legacy is about belonging. It is about belonging, multi-generational belonging. It is financial security, emotional security, relationship security. The antithesis of the hollow feeling of the Nine of Cups in reverse, feeling I do not belong here, I believe is the opposite, Libra. Libra, belonging to another, belonging to a partnership, a sense of love and connection, Venus, right? A sense of love and connection. All right, let's go ahead and see what is the resolve for 10 of Swords in reverse, changing the outcome, making things better. What is the solution to changing this outcome? Three of Coins, doing it together, joining forces. Joining forces. You know what this reminds me of? Joining forces? This reminds me of the solution on April 25th, when I said Chiron is on the couch. Chiron is on the couch with the Venus and the North Node and Mercury, and they're all Chiron's friends, ready to help, ready to give Chiron the solutions and say, you can do this. And I believe that this will be the team effort of relying on other people. Remember, Aries wants to be a loner. Aries is like, I can do this myself. The wounds of Chiron and Aries are overly self-sufficient and not relying on others. So this Three of Coins is about working as a team, working together, not going at it alone. All right, for the burden of the 10 of Wands, what is the solution during this total solar eclipse? Six of Swords, and it says better times ahead. better times ahead. Six of Swords. Oh, I feel like this, and it's funny, I gave the boating analogy. I said that the Ten of Wands was literally Mars feeling the burden of Saturn and being drowned in Pisces. Didn't I just say that? And look, the solution is a woman in a boat getting out of the troubled waters. Crazy. Boating analogy. I don't even boat. Okay, so this is better times ahead. It is Mercury. It is Aquarius. I believe, look at this, we've got Mercury and Aquarius here as the symbols, the signs of the Six of Swords. This is what I am seeing, guys. I am seeing that Mercury, once it stations direct, is really gonna help things along. Really super duper helping things along. And I feel that even if Mars is coming out of that conjunction with Saturn and still in Pisces feeling weak, Mercury is going to take over and say, I can help y'all out here. I'm getting stronger now. It's not going to be completely out of shadow, but at least it won't be retrograde. And it's really going to help things out. The communication will be better. The asking for help will be better. The vocalizing feelings of those core wounds of Chiron will be better. Doing talk therapy will be better. So many things will improve once Mercury stations direct. And I feel like the solutions are coming, but the solutions are to not go at it alone. Don't go at it alone. Have your team, have your family, have your networking, have your friends. Think about Libra in partnerships, for example, and that will actually help you to be able to move forward successfully as you are unearthing all of these wounds with this stalled start on April 8th. So I hope this was helpful in helping you to understand what is going on during this eclipse season. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Click on the bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with others who are interested in astrology. Thank you so much for your support of my YouTube channel. You can purchase one of my 11 published books. You can book a reading with me. Thanks so much, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.